You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios out here in Wichita, Kansas. As always, you can be a part of the program by tweeting me. That's at DrewDuncan83. If you're on Facebook, it's at DrewDuncan83. And if you like Instagram, I am on there at DrewDuncan83. You can get a hold of me via private message. You can talk to me live on any of my posts and get your comments read live over the radio. Pretty good weekend in the NFL and in college football. A couple of upsets, a lot more to get to. But obviously right now, the huge topic of discussion is the beatdown in Denver as Denver dominates Dallas, period. 42-17, the Denver Broncos shut down Ezekiel Elliott, dak-prescott, Des Bryant, and the Dallas Cowboys. One of the best offenses in the NFL over the last season, and I don't want to say quite a half, but obviously last year with everything that dak-prescott did, it was a huge topic of discussion, and I myself thought that Denver would be able to shut down the Dallas Cowboys. I did predict Dallas would get 16 points in this game, and they only got 17. Let me put this game in perspective for you right off the top. Ezekiel Elliott had 8 yards on the ground. Tom Brady had 9 on Sunday. People say, well, you got to give Zeke the ball more. How? You don't have opportunities. Denver had them behind the 8 ball from the jump. Stopped them right away on their first possession. Then on Denver's first possession, they take the ball right down the field, convert a third down. Was it 3rd and 6 with C.J. Anderson running the football? And look, I want to give some credit to Trevor Siemian. I think he was on that first drive, 5 out of 6 for 74 yards. But you saw a lot of effort plays, too, from the Denver Broncos. You could say it was poor tackling by the Dallas Cowboys. I'll take that argument. But you could also say it was a lot of effort plays on the part of Denver. And I love what I saw for them, right? Everything I said that they needed to do in order to win that football game, with the exception of the option, they did. They ran quick out routes. They ran slant routes. They ran some little hook patterns. They ran some zig routes, pivot routes, whatever you want to call them. They kept it easy, a little bit over the seam. That was how they scored that touchdown. Exactly what I said with Virgil Green, the tight end, the way that they ran plays with him, those little pooch patterns out there in the flat. Absolutely. The Denver Broncos did everything I said they needed to do in order to win that football game. And I know a lot of people are going to talk about the depleted Cowboys secondary. Let's just give credit where credit is due, and that's to the Denver Broncos wide receiving core in that running game, period. It shows you what even a moderate running game can do for you. And look, for 3 quarters in that football game, you could arguably say that the Denver Broncos pretty much look like the best team in the NFL. But there were a lot of blaring weaknesses that are in Denver's game, and I think it does start with Trevor Siemian. Look, I know that it's easy. He's kind of an easy target, right? Trevor Siemian is an easy guy to come after. And you never want to be the guy who follows the guy. You want to be the guy who follows the guy who followed the guy. But let's be honest with you. The guy, as far as quarterback goes, is still John Elway in Denver. And after Peyton Manning was there, whoever was after him was going to catch a lot of it as well. Let's keep it real for a moment. Trevor Siemian has a lot of flaws in his game. On that sack when he lost the fumble, I couldn't quite tell if he just didn't see Lawrence coming free or if he saw him come in and was trying to get rid of the football. Either way, he fumbled. Then he threw an interception late. Look, for 3 quarters, like I said, Denver looked like the best team in football. But penalties late in the football game, turnovers late in the football game, It just started to remind me of how they had trouble dealing with the Los Angeles Chargers at the end of the game. It reminded me of how they were in third and fourth quarters at the end of the game last season when Trevor Siemian had all those turnovers inside the red zone, interceptions, fumbles. Denver would be driving early in games. He would turn the ball over. It's an Achilles heel for him, and it's a point-blank situation. You can't say otherwise. There's literally nothing you can do to tell me otherwise. People go, well, don't worry about it. Denver won by big. What's your deal? I'll tell you what my deal is that against the Chargers, they almost blew that football game because of their inability to hang on to the football. Additionally, they had a lot of penalties. Look, in the first half, I think Denver had one penalty. In the second half, they had 5 of them. All of them are later in the football game. And what do penalties do? We know they drive you back yards. So when you're trying to run the football and milk the clock, it makes it harder to get first downs and keep the clock running. Instead, all you're doing is giving your opponent more opportunities to come back. And I know it's easy to poke holes in a win. It's easy to poke holes, and people could be going, dude, calm down a little bit. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, the better teams play a full 4 quarters. You want to finish off an opponent strong, that's how you do it, because Dallas was driving up until Trevor Siemian or Aqib Talib had that pick 6. You just don't want to give your team any chance to lose the game when you're up winning like that. I don't know that it's coaching. I don't think you can put it on Vance Joseph. Because a lot of people, particularly the Denver Bronco fan base, they were concerned. Even after Wade Phillips said, look, this defense is going to be okay, guys. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. He put it out on Twitter. People were still freaking out. But Vance Joseph clearly hasn't missed a beat with his defense for the first 3 quarters. Now, again, Aqib Talib did come up big. They put the nail in the coffin, and they ended the game. But if you're a Denver Broncos fan, seeing those kinds of things have to concern you. Because as soon as I saw another turnover by Trevor Siemian, that interception, I thought, man, here we go again. Dallas is going to get right back into it, and Denver's going to blow this game. Talk about holding your breath. Obviously, we knew that defense was going to play outstanding. It wasn't even a question. I said it on Friday that I really didn't think Dez Bryant was still Dez Bryant. And that's the word around the block, right? The word around the way is Dez Bryant just isn't the guy wide receiver anymore. You saw Beasley limping around towards the end of that football game. Denver just stifled that offense at every possible turn. And to be honest with you, as good as Ezekiel Elliott was, like I said, he didn't do anything spectacular against the New York Football Giants in that Sunday night game. The yards and the box score reflected a great performance. And I did mention some little things that Ezekiel Elliott had done throughout the game, third downs, keeping the chains moving. But at the end of the day, he didn't do anything spectacular. Have the Dallas Cowboys been exposed? See, that's really the big question here, isn't it? Because as we'll get into a little bit later on, the Philadelphia Eagles still look like a very good football team. We're going to find out a little bit more about the New York Football Giants tonight. Washington was able to come away with a win over the Rams, who look like a pretty good football team. So the NFC East looks like a tough division right now. Can the Dallas Cowboys withstand? Because they're going to have to face the Giants again, very good defense. They're going to have to face Washington again, a team that you don't really know what you're going to get out of them day in and day out. But they look like they at least have a decent offense and a decent defense. The Philadelphia Eagles, for the better part of a football game against the Kansas City Chiefs, played phenomenal defense. We'll be getting into that a little bit later on. Denver forced turnovers. It's exactly what I said they needed to do in order to win that football game. Make it easy on your offense. And that first drive wasn't easy. That was what impressed me right there about Denver in this football game. They got pinned back, but it didn't matter. See, the big part of the game for Denver was converting third downs, somewhere where they had struggled all last season. But last night, they were 9 out of 15 on third downs. And we're talking 3rd and 11. C.J. Anderson, draw play, 3rd and 11. The downfield blocking. What did I tell you? Demaryius Thomas, let him use his size to do some downfield blocking. Let Emmanuel Sanders run those deep routes to stretch out that defense and give you a little bit more room. Utilize your tight ends. It's exactly what Denver did. I saw some good motion plays. I saw a mix of play calling. There's a lot to like about the Denver Broncos. I just don't know that there's a lot to like about their quarterback, Trevor Siemian. I think he's a good quarterback, but obviously he's not in the category of great. You know, the main thing that anybody will tell you is turnovers. Every coach preaches it, and it's a bottom-line situation. And as long as Siemian continues to turn the football over the way that he does, the Broncos could be in a lot of trouble. And how about C.J. Anderson, by the way? Nearly 5 a carry, a bill 18 on 25 totes. That really opened up the running game or the passing game. Jamal Charles even didn't get a lot of touches, not as many as I would like to see from him, but he got 5.1 a carry. Trevor Siemian, there were a couple times when he did utilize his legs the way that I want him to in order to get first downs. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, though, obviously you are concerned about the injuries that are on your football team. But you do have a bright side. I love that Lawrence, man. That dude is a hell of a football player. Everybody's been talking about, missing Greg Hardy. Obviously no more DeMarcus Ware, period, for either Denver or Dallas. I think Lawrence is your guy on the defensive line there. But he's going to need some help in coverage. Sean Lee was okay last night, at linebacker. You're going to have a little bit more help. But a lot of it was just game planning. When they're playing 9 yards deep off the receiver, to me it's a gimme running those out routes. And when they jam you, run to the inside like you're going to run a slant, and then you just come back out. Pivot route, zig route, whatever you want to call it. And Denver did that inside the red zone, and that was how they scored one of their touchdowns. Do it off of play action. You can really utilize that route to your advantage. Because once the defense creeps in on you, you've got them. And it doesn't matter if they're in zone or man at that point, because if they're in zone, they're going to be trailing where the fake or the play action pass is going to go to. And if they're in man, they're going to be trying to jam that slant because they don't want you to get inside because it's going to be a first down every time. So you just cut that thing back out. And if they're in man, there's probably not going to be anybody over the top. Especially when you're deep in the red zone. Safety's not going to be able to play lurk or sky. They're probably going to either blitz him or have him hang over the middle. Penalties hurt the Dallas Cowboys throughout the football game. Holding, offensive pass interference. I think the bottom line for both teams is that we need to, in a sense, slow down because it was just one bad game from the Dallas Cowboys. They did clearly dominate the New York Giants, especially in terms of the defensive side of the football. They're going to have to get back, I think, to some basic things. Dak-Prescott, whether he's going to have a sophomore slump or not, I don't know. I do know that the NFC East, to me, is still going to be a little bit tougher this year than it has been in previous seasons. I think the Cowboys are going to have to fight extremely hard in order to be able to get a playoff spot. This year, the NFC is going to be up for grabs, period, I think. Your usual teams are not there. The Seattle Seahawks are already 0-2. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers get snuffed out last night by the Atlanta Falcons. So the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to take a different tack. What do I think they do? Well, I think they simplify their offense. I think maybe they run a little bit more option, and you risk it with your quarterback. Look, the one thing I saw from Dallas at the end of that football game that I honestly fell in love with was when Dak-Prescott threw that interception in the red zone, and it was returned for a touchdown by Talib. I saw Dak back there still trying to make a play. Now, as a Cowboys fan, you're holding your breath. You're going, dude, don't try and make a tackle, bro. You're going to get yourself hurt. But you know what, though? That showed a lot of grit. Especially when you see Ezekiel Elliott standing there on the sideline, that picture of him with his mouth open, just staring off into space. Des Bryant arguing with everybody on the sideline, linemen, other wide receivers, Dak-Prescott, the head coach. You see Witten arguing with guys, which is fun. I mean, that kind of stuff happens. And at least they showed some emotion after they were getting dominated the way that they were. To me, the thing that concerned me the most was Ezekiel Elliott just sitting there like he just wasn't even in the game. I mean, there were moments when I would see him carry the football and he'd just get up and he was just kind of nonchalant about everything. You're looking at the way his body language was. It was just kind of like, whatever, bro, we're losing. It's just not the attitude you want from your star player. When you're getting your butt kicked, man, somebody's got to go and light a fire. Now, maybe that's what Dez was trying to do. I don't know. But I feel like a big part of that is the head coach's job. So where the hell was Garrett at? I think dak-prescott showed leadership by trying to make that tackle. Your actions on the field often speak louder than words. And I think that could be enough to keep this team rallied behind him. In the meantime, Denver does have the toughest schedule in all the NFL based off of last year's records, so they're going to have to run the gauntlet. Defensively, we all know Denver's going to be a top-tier team. Offensively, I love the effort plays from everybody else. Simeon is going to have to work on his ball control, period. This is the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You guys are checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios out here in Wichita, Kansas. There's a lot more to get to. College football, NFL. Up next, Florida with the miracle win over Tennessee. We're going to talk about it right after this. Don't you dare touch that dial.